Welcome back to Squawk Box. Meta reaching a resolution with conservative activist Robby Starbuck, who had sued the tech giant, you remember, for defamation back in April. He alleged that Meta's AI chatbot spread false statements about him, including that he participated in the riot at the U.S. Capitol on January 6, 2021, which he did not do. A joint statement between the two parties says they, quote, resolved this matter to our mutual satisfaction, and, quote, Meta and Robby Starbuck will work collaboratively in the coming months to continue to find ways to address issues of ideological and political bias. Joining us right now is Robby Starbuck. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning. How are you guys doing?
Good, thanks. So we talked when you first brought this to their attention and to the attention of the public. What led to the settlement, and what's part of this? What's embedded inside this settlement?
Yeah, pretty much immediately after I filed the lawsuit, Meta reached out to me, and there was a lot of concerned long phone calls with executives and engineers. I mean, we got into like the granular details of AI and the training and everything that needed to be done to correct this issue, because we all saw beyond the lawsuit and we're looking at the larger issue. And it's actually pretty unique, in the course of a serious lawsuit like this, for the two sides to engage in really deep, long conversations on these types of details, and I think we just all saw the larger picture. This is a real problem, and it could affect far more than just me. I'm one person, but this could cause a lot of problems across the entire industry when it comes to elections and political bias. And we wanted to be leaders in solving this problem. And that was always the point of my lawsuit, is fix this for everybody so this doesn't become a massive, really terrible story in the future where AI affects elections in ways that nobody's comfortable with on either side.
So how are they going to ensure that? What's your role going to be in it? And did they pay you anything in all of this?
I'm going to be working with them to stop this problem on an overall. So that encompasses a lot of different things, and we plan to communicate more about it in the coming months because we've still got work to do. We've made a ton of progress at this point. You can see on the Meta platforms, none of this crazy stuff gets said about me, but it's also about looking at the future and making sure this doesn't happen across the industry. So we are going to continue to communicate the exact details of how we fix this, but we want to get through, this process and, find a strong way forward that we can communicate to the industry. But in terms of, the monetary side and everything, I think the big focus for us is really fixing this. That was the big reason why I decided to move forward, not just with the lawsuit, but with this settlement and agreement, is that we wanted to fix the problem for everybody. And
so, but just to put a fine point on for the audience that wants to know, did they pay you anything?
I don't think that's really an important detail.
I think it's a detail that people would want to know, because you're coming out here and obviously now going to work with them. And so they want to know, are you being paid by them? Some would say you're being paid off by them. A lot of companies obviously either work with you or don't work with you. You've gone to them, whether it's JP Morgan or so many different companies who you've either, this is a different situation because this was very personal, but I think people would just generally want to know if there's an economic interest that has been resolved as part of this or somehow related to it.
I think, if you look at kind of what I've done in corporate America with all the other projects, all these other companies, I can say 1,000% we have never, ever done any sort of economic deal with them to make the changes and fixes that we've been able to accomplish across corporate America. Lawsuits are different. The truth is, had we said, we're going to dig in our heels and go to trial on this, I don't think anybody would have thought twice about, what the outcome ended up being, if that was the scenario. And so, I don't think it's really a focus a lot of people are going to have. I think most people I know are going to be just really happy that there's a voice in the room to stand up for the average American and for really just political neutrality across the board. That's always been my focus. My goal is making sure that happens. And I think that's the most valuable thing that can come out of this, is that we get that.
But just help me with this, because you also, look, and the reason I'm asking is you have been somebody who has talked about wanting to have transparency around everything. That's been a huge part of your argument around companies and the way they behave and all of that. And so I think it's fair to ask, and I think it's fair to answer the question about the money piece of it.
You can ask, but I think I'm going to move on from that one. I think the real focus that people are going to care about is fixing this problem, because it's an industry-wide issue. And, I think that we're going to be leaders. That's our goal in showing the right path forward, because AI is becoming a dominant part of our lives. It's going to be in every facet of it for our kids. And so we can either do it the right way or we can do it the wrong way. And my goal is an ethical AI that, plays it neutral future where you've got AI putting the thumb on the scale when it comes to politics. We want.
Hey, Robby. We have I've got a new app coming out that Andrew built for me on sifting through all the bias in mainstream media. We're working on it. Hopefully, by the time we have Sam on, we'll be talking about it.
I got my GitHub open right now.
You got GitHub open, working on it. It's going to sift through all the mainstream media bias how a conservative would criticize news stories throughout the day. You're probably going to want to, you probably could pay for it. But my question, we were talking earlier about a stack ranking for virtue. And we had a professor on from Yale and railing about the gift that it was a bribe from Tim Cook for Trump, and also about what was his other point? The Intel, Trump saying that an Intel CEO had to go. And I brought up, I mean, exactly what you've been working on for 4 years. The way that the DEI and ESG was rammed down the throats of every corporation in this country by the Biden administration, I don't even think it's close. That's what I was arguing with Andrew, in terms of what's less virtuous, one versus the other. Neither is great, maybe. Maybe you don't think Trump should be talking about who should be CEO of Intel. But I don't know. I didn't see the outrage from either the mainstream media or professors at Yale about what was happening, even mandatory vaccines and fossil fuels. And I mean, you noticed over the past 4 years, I guess, didn't you?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's different rules, then and now, and I don't think that's really a question. I mean, when you look at DEI, I talked with a major defense contract CEO, and we were talking about DEI actually before the election. They said, look, Robby, we want to make all of these changes, and we would announce it right now because we really don't care what the administration thinks about it. But the problem is our existing contracts with the DOD require us to have these DEI policies. And if we don't have them, we lose our contracts. And so I can't do that to my employees. So, help us get on the other side of this. And if, we get a new president, we're all in to get rid of this stuff. And there were so many businesses in that position where the government had forced these policies as part of, government policy, essentially like, hey, you wouldn't want to lose that contract in that nice company of yours, now would you? And so it's kind of like mob-like tactics. So I never agree with that. I'm a big fan of letting businesses do their business and not having the government come in and choose winners and losers.
So, Robby, I have two questions for you. Do you look at where corporate America has moved to under this administration, and maybe even some of the pressure that you've put upon them, as mission accomplished? Or are there other companies right now that you're looking at that you think that you're going to try to bring to the attention of the public and hopefully persuade or otherwise push to change?
Yeah, there are other companies that we're looking at. I don't consider everything mission accomplished. I consider it mission going well, right? But the truth is that the problem's not completely fixed. There are companies out there that are still engaging in behavior that I think is totally egregious and, wildly discriminatory in many ways. And so, I'm not the only one looking at that. I think Department of Justice is also looking at that, and they're going to have a lot to say about this from the civil rights side of the DOJ. I know Harmy Dillon's not messing around. She's my former lawyer. She's very concerned about making sure there's no discrimination. And so I think this is something you're going to see not just me, but also, DOJ look at. And I'll also say this. I think part of the reason I also wanted to resolve this situation is that this has eaten up a lot of my time, right? A big lawsuit like this is a big deal. And I need to keep my eye on the ball to help shift corporate America back to the place of sanity. We should all want that. I think people at the beginning of my operation were a little concerned I'd veered into my politics entirely. And the truth is I've kept a really steady course of we want neutrality. We want this to be a fair, ball field for everybody. We want both sides to feel like they can go to work and not be in a position where they're, feeling like they're degrading their values or having to, sort of betray themselves. And I think we've done a good job of that. So that's going to be my focus here on out, is making sure that we keep those companies in line and that the free market is what brings and bears that sanity out, right?
Okay, well, Robby, I think we're going to have you back because I think there's a big debate right now about the free market. I'm not suggesting it was free before, but I think there's a lot of questions today about whether it's free today and sort of how industrial policy is being operated.
Stacking.
So,
rank stacking.
Hopefully we will talk to you again very soon, Robby. Appreciate you joining us this morning.
Absolutely. Happy to be there soon and talk about the free market because we need to make
the name of my app for him.
The app is called, we haven't put it in the App Store yet, just so you know.
You're going to want it.
It is called the Kernan MSM Truth Report, though I don't want the president he could come after you.
because of True Story.
I don't know if he's gonna. That could be like a lawsuit, so we got to
We're both
watch out.